and we can do 5 short. In all of these, we're finding the slope of the graph. So starting with number 5, I see 2 points here. If I didn't, I would try to find 2 points that cross grid lines exactly. So if I'm starting at this one and ending at this one, I'm going to count how far did I go down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, thank you. And then how far over to the right? 3. Yes, thank you. So that, since I went down 5, that's going to be a negative 5 over 3. If I could simplify that, I would. Make sure this is m equals. Because we're looking for slope. 3. Because we went over 3. For 6, this is a vertical line. So I'm going to write our wave up really quickly. Because this is a vertical line, the slope is undefined. Always. If it was horizontal, slope would be 0. If you wanted to count it, I would be going down 3, and I wouldn't have a rise or a run. So that would be a negative 3 over 0, but when I put that in my calculator, we're going to get undefined, or error, which would be undefined. Yes. No, because we're going to the right. So right is a positive. Okay, on the back. Questions from the back. Guys, focus on the math. Questions on the back. L. Sure. So in this section, you are just stating what the slope is. Some of these are given to you in slope-intercept form, so you just say what that is. Some of these are not. They're in standard form. So we have to solve this first, get rid of x by subtracting to the other side. So that this is just y equals, rearrange this so that it's in y equals mx plus b, so negative x minus 5. And then that doesn't answer our question. What is the slope of this equation? The number in front. What is that number? Negative 1. So we're just stating what is the slope from that equation. Okay. Other questions on this page? Which one? Adrian? 20. And then which one? 22. I'm going to say those are both going to be similar. We'll do 20 and then see if we can do 22. So for this one, similarly, move, what did you say, Adrian? 16? Okay. Move your x term by subtracting. So we have 3y equals negative 7x minus 12. Rearrange those. Then divide everything by 3. So that this is just y equals, this doesn't simplify, negative 7 over 3 x. This does, minus 4. But that doesn't answer our question. What is the slope?
Negative 7.
Yes, negative 7 over 3. Questions on that one before we go up and do 16? Would that help you with 22? Would that help you figure out how to do 22?
Do the same, but
It's yes. Do the same thing. Okay. In 16, it's already in slope-intercept form. So we just have to state what is the slope. 1080. So we're not going to change anything. There's no work to do except to write what the slope is, which is 1 over 4. Other questions on this page? Number 15. Okay. This one's also already in slope-intercept form. What is the slope? -2. Eight, 18 is the same. 18 is the same. How do you? Okay. 17 shorts. What's the slope for this one? 4 over. Okay. Do we have any questions about 7 through 14? Because we're gonna just skip to the bottom. Which one? 11. Okay. Which one did you say, Adrian? Did you say another one? Okay. So in this section, we're using our slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 all over x2 minus x1. So if it helps you, label these x1, y1, x2, y2. And then we're going to put each of those numbers into the equation. So m equals y2 is negative 18 minus y1 is negative 8 over x2 is negative 14 minus x1 is negative 20. Now, you could put that into your calculator all together, separately, each line. You could change this to a plus first because the negative and the minus become a plus. How you do that is really up to you. Let's say I rewrote it first. So negative 10 over. So that not 1. Negative 14 plus 1. Okay. That's still good. And then this can be simplified. Negative 10 over 6. Use your alpha y equals, put that in as a fraction. What would that be? Yes, negative 5 over 3. Good. Other slope questions before we move on? Bless you. You get something off. You want to bring it to me? Okay. If no other slope questions, go into the writing. On this page? Yeah. Okay, so we'll do 10 really quickly on this, and then we'll go into the writing. We're going to use that same equation. x1, y1, x2, y2. Label those. So that we have m equals negative 4 minus 2 over x2 is negative 5 minus x1 is negative 3. Subtract across. Negative 4 minus 2 would give us negative 6. And negative 5 minus a negative 3. Double check that. It's negative 3.
You could have done plus.
Yes, you could have also wrote plus 3. And then this would simplify to be positive 3. Yes. This one, because this is the same thing as negative 5 plus 3. So if you put in minus minus, you'll get this. Okay, on to the writing. Writing from a graph, are there any of those we want to see? Okay. Okay, so number 2, we are writing the equation y equals mx plus b from this graph. Find the y-intercept first. Look at what that point is where it crosses the y-intercept. That would be at negative 3. Then if you don't have points, find another place where this line would cross the grid lines exactly. There are 2 of them. It does not matter which one you choose. And we're going to count the slope down and over. What would that slope be? Negative 1 over 4. Good. And then I'm going to take those 2 and write them together. Y equals negative 1/4 x minus 3.
How do you get 1
Did you answer your own question? Other questions there?
The number 3 is undefined.
Okay. It's 0. The slope is 0 here. But the equation, since this is a horizontal line, this is going to be some y equals, and then wherever that crosses the y-axis, that would be that number. But if it was a vertical line, then it would be an x equals. Yes. Yes. What is that y-intercept? Negative 4. And then the slope, you can do from the x-intercept to the y-intercept, or all of these in between. What is that slope? Which simplifies to be. So if I did 4 over 4, that would simplify to be 1. So whichever one you chose, 2 over 2, 4 over 4, 1 over 1, all of those all simplify to be 1. So that equation is y equals 1x, or just x, minus 4. Go on to the back. Questions from this page? For the first part? For the whole page. So for the first part, you're given the slope and y-intercept, and yes, you're putting it in slope intercept form. For the second and third parts, you are going to end up in that format, but you have to do a little bit of work to get there. For number 4. So in this section, you are given the slope and y-intercept, kind of like from the graph. Once you have those 2, you're just writing it together in y equals mx plus b. Jessica, are you ready? So this would be your slope, x, and then your y-intercept. For 11 and and the bottom section. You need to know how to use your point slope and your slope intercept. So we'll do point slope first. If I'm using point slope, that's your y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And I would label this x1, y1, and m. And then we're going to put those three into this. So y minus y1, 1, equals our slope m, 4/9, parentheses x minus our x1, 5. And then distribute. This is going to have fractions. So I multiplied 4 and 5 to get the 20. The 9 would be in the denominator. But you could also do that in your calculator. The next part you'll need to do in your calculator. Because we're going to add 1 to this. So in your calculator, type in negative 20 over 9 plus 1. And tell me what that is. Everyone should be typing that in your calculator. Negative 20 over 9 plus 1. Calculator, not Desmos. Negative what? 11 over 9. Yes, I'm sure it's this one. Yeah. So, alpha y equals, to keep it as a fraction, and then negative 20 over 9, and then plus 1, minus 1. It'll be a fraction. I would leave that one as a fraction. But that equation is y equals 4 over 9x minus 11 over 9. Okay. What was the next one? 17.
You can have to simplify. You can't just go like that, right?
So in this case, I cannot simplify this anymore. And this gave me the most simplified number.
So you can't just leave it at negative 20 or not, right?
Correct, because we had to add 1. Okay, 7. So this one is like the last section, but we have to find the slope first because we're given 2 points. So use our slope formula. I'll label this x1, y1, x2, y2. So this would be 1 minus 3 over negative 1 minus a negative 3. So we get negative 2 over 2. That would be negative 1 plus 3. Which would simplify to be negative 1. Okay. In this one, I'm going to use the slope-intercept form. Does not matter which point you use. I'm going to use the one with 1s just because there's no real reason. And then we're going to use our y equals mx plus b, where this is x, this is y, this is m. So that would be 1 equals our slope, negative 1, times our x, negative 1, plus b. And then multiply negative 1 and 1, negative 1 and negative 1. And get rid of this one. Excuse me, sorry. And then write your equation. So y equals your slope, negative 1. Sorry, I was looking for it. Our slope, negative 1. X plus our y-intercept to get that equation. So you can use only point slope. You can use slope intercept for some of them, but you have to do point slope for at least one. We could do one more of these if you have questions about it, or we're going to move on. Okay.
Just do one more, the slope intercept, right, the one that we just did that.
So like one of these.
Yes.
Okay, pick one.
Do 6.
That one's actually going to be different because we're given the line intercept, so we're not going to have to do all that work.
18.
So find the slope.
What?
18. So that would be 4 minus a negative 2 over 5 minus 3. So that would give us 6 over 2, which would be 3. Do we want to see the point slope or the slope intercept format of this? Okay. So like this. Yes. And then I'm going to use the positive order pairs just because it's going to make life easy. So that would be x, y, this is m. So that would be 4 equals our slope, 3. Our x, 5 times 5 plus b. We're taking our slope and our point and putting it into y equals mx plus b. Multiply. And then get rid of 15 by subtracting. And then rewrite this in slope intercept form using your slope and your y-intercept. So y equals 3x minus 11. For sake of time, we're going to move on to the graphing. Are there any graphing questions we want to see you go over? On the next one. We're going to move on. We're going to move on to the graphing. Or this is going to be a horizontal line at -1, so plot a point there, draw a straight line straight across. On the test, you can, on the quiz, you can grab rulers, just not right now because we don't have time. Other graphing questions on the front or the back? Number 5. So start at your y-intercept, -4, plot that point. This is a positive slope. We can go up 2 and to the right 5, or we can go down 2 and to the left 5 from that point. So build up your graph with as many points as possible. So if I went down to left 5, that'd be right there. I could go up 2 and to the right 5. And once you run out of graph space, then you can draw your line. And make sure you have arrows at the ends. Intercepts. Questions on intercepts really quickly. Joshua, you shouldn't be on computers. So 5, for the intercepts, for this section, you're going to put 0 in for one of the variables and solve, and then go back and put 0 into the other variable and solve. So if I'm solving for x, I'm going to put 0 in for y. Negative 5 times 0 would become 0, so I'm just going to write everything else and solve for x. And write that as an ordered pair. My x is 0, my y is 0 in this case. Based on what your x-intercept is, your y-intercept is going to be the same thing, but we still have to do the work for it. So now I'm going to solve for y and put 0 in for x. 3 times 0 would give us 0, so I'm going to just drop that and write everything else and solve for y. Questions on 7 through 10 or 11 through 16 really quickly, so we can be done, so you have time to finish your quiz. 7 to 4. So these directions are off. This, you have the x and y intercepts, plot those points.
Not talking about in the middle, but
Say that one more time.
I don't know, it's funny. You know, it's like, you should like, be like, it's like another number.
We're not done. So there's one more thing we gotta do. We gotta write the equation for this, and maybe that'll answer your question. After you plot those points, count the slope of this, which would be what? -2 over 5. And then because we have our y-intercept, we have our slope, we can write our equation. Y equals -2 over 5x minus 2. Did that answer your
Yeah, I was
question?
just trying to figure out like which one was like 2, like -2.
Oh,
you should like give it to us.
Intercept.
The intercept. Okay. Okay. Questions on the back? Or are we done? So the quiz is still collaborative, but remember we're not just copying down answers, we're talking to each other. You can still use your notes, but try not to rely on your notes. Try to do it without looking at your notes, and then if you get stuck, then refer back to your notes. Okay?